Zach Wilson was living the dream. A college superstar picked second overall in the NFL draft, primed to play starting quarterback in the country's biggest media market. But fast forward a few short years, and you see a quarterback playing so poorly, his fans' teeth are falling out in disgust. And now, a once promising prospect finds his career hanging on by a thread. So, just how bad was Zach Wilson actually? By the end of his junior year at BYU, Zach was already tagged as a future NFL star, powering the Cougars to an 11-1 record while throwing for over 3,600 yards and 33 touchdowns. And with a completion rate of 73.5%, he shattered the BYU record long held by NFL Hall of Famer Steve Young. The Mormon Mahomes did it all. The ability to make any throw on the field? Check. Lights out precision? Check. Exceptional footwork and mobility? Check. Wilson checked all the boxes. But there was one moment that really solidified the Utah native as a top NFL prospect, his pro day. You know, the day where quarterback prospects throw to their own receivers in a t-shirt and shorts with a script of throws they've been practicing for weeks leading up to it. Yeah, that should probably hold a lot of weight in the evaluation process, right?
Yeah, there's a couple throws I missed, a couple things I overshot. Just want to make it a little easier on the receivers, but they did a great job making me look good. So,
well, Wilson put on a show, setting social media ablaze.
First of all, it's a sick throw by Zach Wilson.
First of all, Steve mentioned, oh my goodness, that is just a silly thought. Yeah.
And making NFL teams fall in love with his arm talent. One team was so enamored that they selected Wilson second overall in the 2021 draft.
The New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU.
And it should have been a sign that Zach's mom was trending higher than he was on draft night. But he brushed that off and was ready to get to work. Zach entered the league with a cannon for an arm and a healthy swagger that had fans and local press already crowning the 22-year-old Golden Boy the second coming of Joe Namath. The Zach Wilson hype train was real, and the expectations as tall as the Empire State Building. After 50-plus years of subpar quarterback play reeking of shattered potential, fluky injuries, and the most embarrassing fumble ever.
A play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
The Jets believed they finally had their man. But the jump up from college ball to pro ball can be steeper for some, especially when the jump involves the New York Jets, a team notorious for derailing the careers of countless young quarterbacks. Just ask Ken O'Brien, Chad Pennington, Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. Hell, throw in Tim Tebow on the list too.
And I'm so excited about being a Jet. Very, very excited about it. Really excited about that. All right, I'm excited. I was excited about it. I was excited. I'm excited about that opportunity, and I'm excited about this opportunity.
Okay, maybe that's too far, but you get the point. Each and every one of these quarterbacks saw their NFL aspirations nosedive within a few years of joining the organization. Sam Darnold was drafted by the Jets in 2018 as a highly touted prospect, expected to finally course-correct 50 years of franchise failure. But it wasn't long before the bumbling, bug-eyed, wandering wonder Coach Adam Gase locked those peepers onto the young QB.
He gets the ball in the second half.
That's right.
I got to reset right now. You know what to do.
Yeah.
And Darnold's career has yet to recover. Geno Smith is one of the few exceptions, a QB who actually climbed out of whatever hell the Jets send their young signal callers to. But even still, the second-round quarterback selected in 2013 saw the start of his NFL career so royally botched by the Jets, it took Smith 9 years to finally turn things around after catching on in Seattle. Geno's 4-year disaster with gangrene wasn't even limited to the field, as he missed over half a season after a Jets teammate punched him in the face and broke his jaw in a dispute over a mere $600. But despite their brutal history drafting quarterbacks, the Jets were convinced Zach Wilson would be different. And in his rookie season, you could see some glimpses of exceptional quarterback play. There's this 53-yard touchdown strike to Corey Davis, and this beast mode-esque 52-yard touchdown scamper. But moments like these were rare and often overshadowed by poor performance, along with a stunning inability to distinguish between his teammates' jerseys and his opponents, which is a roundabout way of saying Wilson was excellent at throwing the ball to the wrong team. In his very first home game in front of the Jets faithful, Wilson threw not one, not two, not three, but 4 interceptions. And what made what should have been a celebrated debut even more of a back alley dumpster fire? Wilson's first 2 picks were off his first 2 pass attempts of the game. Not exactly how you want to introduce yourself to New York. But Wilson's rookie season wasn't all doom and gloom. 2 weeks later, Zach secured his first NFL win over the eventual AFC South champion Tennessee Titans. 2 starts later, he overcame not only the shame that goes with committing the saddest-looking shovel pass interception ever, shout out to Carson Wentz for the second saddest, but Wilson also overcame a double-digit deficit on the road to beat Houston.
I didn't start off well. I got to play better. So it's good to be able to win and then to be able to get better off of a win. We're going to go back in and try and clean up the mistakes, but it was nice to get that win on the road.
He also helped New York pull off a win over not just Jacksonville, but over Trevor Lawrence, the rookie quarterback selected ahead of him in the 2021 draft. A week later, Wilson was in position to slam the door shut on a comeback attempt from Tom Brady and defeat the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. But in typical Jet fashion, there was a mix-up with the play call, and they failed to cash in. Instead, Brady got time to go and do what Brady does best: kiss his son on the lips.
You want a Tom Brady kiss?
No, I'm sorry. Push the ball downfield and steal the win in the closing seconds.
Whatever it is, it's a first down, and so it just makes you sick.
But it would be the Bucs feeling a massive bout of indigestion on this one. The 4-11 Jets were up in the third, when suddenly Tampa wideout Antonio Brown removed his uniform and sauntered off the field to deliver one of the most astounding ends to a pro athlete's career ever. But what does that have to do with Zach Wilson? How about, had Wilson not led the Jets on 4 separate scoring drives to take a 14-point lead on the defending champs, in all likelihood, Antonio Brown doesn't completely unravel at MetLife and might still be in the league today. So, Zach Wilson likely ended Antonio Brown's NFL career. There's a hot take you definitely didn't expect to hear. Wilson finished the season with 9 touchdowns to 11 interceptions and a 3-10 record as a starter. By all accounts, an underwhelming rookie season that saw Zach struggle to adjust to the speed and complexity of the NFL game. But Jets fans kept it all in perspective, knowing that season would come with growing pains.
How hard is being a Jets fan?
It's probably the hardest thing I have to deal with in my life.
They had a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach in Robert Saleh, and a first-time offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. And despite being as green as their team colors, the new regime propelled the Jets to double up their win total from the previous season, jumping from 2 wins to 4. Still awful, but technically moving things in the right direction. Yet, NFL analysts weren't looking at Zach Wilson's game through the same rose-colored lenses.
When I look at Zach Wilson, oh my God, it's awful. He got 7 interceptions thus far. It hasn't been impressive. He's completed about 55% of his passes, all right? I'm concerned.
But can we dump all of the Jets' problems on a rookie quarterback? Of course we could, but let's spread it around. The Jets' O-line left plenty to be desired in 2021, as Wilson constantly found himself smashed, bashed, and split in half like a cheap Bills Mafia folding table. Then there's offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, who, despite attempting to draw up plays that Wilson had success with at BYU, never got things clicking for the rookie, and instead looked far more focused on his playbook than adjusting to Zach's strengths. And now, let's look at the playmakers the Jets surrounded their rookie QB with. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Keelan Cole were his leading pass catchers, and Michael Carter was the team's leading rusher. Not exactly an all-star cast, but help was on the way. That offseason, New York recognized their deficiencies and scooped up instant playmakers like Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall in the 2022 draft. And by the time August rolled around, Zach was the talk of training camp. Is it because Wilson looked more focused than ever, ready to lead New York to long-awaited Super Bowl glory? No. Everyone was talking about Zach spending the offseason allegedly sleeping with his mom's best friend. It was the hottest story in sports for about a day.
How about the fact that Zach Wilson is banging his mom's best friend?
And after a few laughs, a couple hundred memes, and over $50,000 in sales for this Zach Wilson throwing bombs and banging moms hat, it was back to football, right?
No. What's up?
Zach suffered a non-contact bone bruise, sidelining him for 3 weeks to start the season. When Zach returned, things were different. The Jets were actually winning games and beating solid teams like Pittsburgh, Miami, and Green Bay. While a season ago, Zach Wilson highlights were few and far between, 2022 Zach Wilson could ball, sort of. Sure, he still struggled to hit receivers in the open field, but hot damn could he hit the gritty after becoming the first quarterback in franchise history to ever catch a touchdown pass.
Double reverse, the pass to the end zone, caught by Wilson from Braxton Berrios.
Not only that, Wilson delivered a 76-yard catch and run to Breece Hall, a big boy goal line drive for 6 against Miami, and a 41-yard strike against the Packers. At one point, Wilson and the Jets ripped off 6 wins in 8 games. Good enough for a 6-3 record heading into the bye week. So Wilson finally figured it out, right? Not exactly. Despite the wins and a few nice plays, Wilson's game had not progressed and looked like a straight copy and paste job from the previous season. The speed of the game didn't slow down like it should for a second-year NFL quarterback, and you would have thought he was reading a completely different language when trying to read an NFL defense. And it resulted in sacks that couldn't simply be blamed on the O-line. In fact, if you didn't know better, you'd think Wilson was the last person in the entire stadium to sense a blitz coming. His pocket awareness was simply non-existent. But as we know, nothing helps camouflage poor quarterback play like winning ball games, as Coach Saleh appeared content to let Wilson sputter along just as long as the dubs kept coming.
What happened, but I think he's made tremendous improvements from a year ago. I think he has. It's just an unfortunate series of events that occurred.
However, in Week 11 against New England, everything changed. Zach turned in the worst performance of his career, connecting on just 9 of 32 passes for a total of 77 yards. But the Jets' D played lights out and kept the game tied 3-3 until a last-second Patriots punt return to the house ended it for Gang Green.
Here he goes! He's going to try to beat, and that is a touchdown!
But Wilson's atrocious afternoon is just getting started.
As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. Do you feel like you let the defense down at all? No. So
the reality was that the Jets' defense had carried their team all year. So this shocking lack of accountability resulted in Wilson losing all of the little remaining support he had left within the Jets organization. And he wasn't just benched, he fell all the way from first on the depth chart to third, presumably bringing about the end of Zach Wilson's career in New York. So, how did we get here? How does a quarterback picked second overall fail so dramatically in just 20 games? There's no simple answer, because just as it takes a village to develop a superstar quarterback, it also takes a village to ruin one. And the Jets organization, once again, proved they are unequivocally inept when it comes to drafting and developing NFL quarterbacks. At BYU, Wilson played against inferior competition in comparison to Power 5 conferences, and also played behind one of the best offensive lines in the country. He was never really asked to read defenses or make quick decisions. He just waited for one of his first reads to get open, then made the throw. Fast forward to his time with the Jets, where he was thrust into the starting role with a bad O-line and bad playmakers, and you have a recipe for disaster. So, as bad as Wilson's own performances were, the Jets made a bad evaluation compounded by surrounding their young quarterback with poor infrastructure. But beyond that, Zach's personality did him no favors either. Wilson, despite being a nice guy who sleeps with older women, never won over his locker room. And his inability to take responsibility after that hatchet job in New England looked to be the final nail in the coffin for Wilson in New York.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. It was a frustrating day, of course.
And with that, in 2023, the Jets hit the pause button on the Zach Wilson experiment and moved in a new direction. Enter a 39-year-old four-time NFL MVP, Aaron Rodgers, who swapped one green jersey for another. Rodgers brought not only Hall of Fame caliber talent, but a wealth of experience and a competitive fire that ignited the entire Jet organization. And the change of scenery did wonders for Rodgers too, who suddenly was no longer the old grump that he was in his last few years in Green Bay. Instead, A-Rod was like the cool uncle, sharing stories about trips on ayahuasca, rocking a slick mustache rarely seen outside of witness protection programs, taking teammates to Taylor Swift concerts, and looking like a stud on Hard Knocks. Who is this guy? He's the guy who would help Jet fans completely forget about Zach Wilson. Yeah. So, the what to do about Zach Wilson question still remains. Do the Jets cut their top pick admitting defeat, but also avoiding any potential bad vibes in the quarterback room? Nope. The love affair Coach Saleh and the Jets had for Wilson remained, keeping number 2 as the team's clear number 2. And it actually worked. Wilson embraced the unique opportunity to watch, learn, and absorb the nuances of the quarterback position from a master. Rodgers quickly became both mentor and motivator to Wilson, who approached this new phase with a mix of humility and determination.
I'm very appreciative of him and how much he is willing to help me. He honestly truly is an amazing friend.
Sure, The Jets were doing the whole sit and learn until you're ready to play thing a little backwards, but the team was optimistic that Zach's time on the sideline would do wonders for his career and could serve as a path back to the Jets' starting quarterback position later on down the road. But then, disaster struck in the most New York Jets way possible. Just 4 snaps into the 2023 season, everything changed. Rodgers tore his Achilles at home against Buffalo, thrusting Wilson back into the spotlight, while simultaneously packing the entire Jet organization into the DeLorean and traveling right back to where the team was a season ago. It was the ultimate kick in the groin for a Jets fan base that believed 2023 was the season the 50-plus years of pain and humiliation would finally be shook. The Jets would win that opening game thanks to a miraculous walk-off punt return, but for all intents and purposes, the season was finished before it even began. With Rodgers out for the year, the Jets chose to stick with Wilson instead of signing or trading for a more competent quarterback. The Jets claimed Wilson had improved tremendously after just a few short weeks of sitting under the Rodgers learning tree. But let's go to the tape. There's the 62-yard Wilson-to-Wilson connection against Dallas. There's the game Mormon Mahomes, despite losing, outperformed the real Mahomes in front of Taylor Swift. And who can forget Wilson leading the Jets in an epic win over the then undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. A week later, Wilson helped spoil the debut of Tommy DeVito and his mysterious agent/mafia hitman, bringing the Jets to a comfortable 4-3 record. But as Jets fans had learned, just when Wilson flashed the smallest hint of hope, right on cue, the old Zach was back. The Jets would go on to lose 3 straight, and even Joe Namath said he'd seen enough.
I've seen enough of Zach Wilson. All right? I've seen enough.
Wilson was tripping over himself, airmailing passes, even getting tackled on the sideline by Coach Saleh, for reasons no one can seem to figure out. But nonetheless, Zach was benched again. Then, after 2 games of Tim Boyle under center, the Jets decided to go back to Wilson. However, Zach was allegedly hesitant to take back the starting role. Both Wilson and Aaron Rodgers dispute the report. But who cares? Because Zach went out for the start against Houston, and who saw this coming? He delivered the best performance of his career, throwing for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. But the next week, against Miami, Wilson was pummeled in the first half and was ruled out for the rest of the game with a concussion. He would never take a snap for the New York Jets again. Jets general manager Joe Douglas spent the offseason talking up how much Wilson still had to offer, but everyone saw that for what it was, a feeble attempt to up Zach's plummeting trade value.
Zach is an asset. At the same time, we're obviously open to trading.
But in an ironic twist, the Denver Broncos, who Zach Wilson beat twice over the last 2 seasons, decided to swap one failed Wilson experiment, Russell, for another failed Wilson experiment, Zach. And according to the Broncos, Zach has a real shot of earning the starting QB position in Denver. Hopefully a change of scenery is all he needs. But if history is any indicator, the Jets have claimed yet another quarterback's career. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, stick with Blitz and check out some of our other videos.